Good morning, everyone. So in our previous session, we had started talking about the concept of the final prepare for the final accounts. Who prepares what is what we had discussed about. The manufacturer prepares the manufacturing account, trading account, profit and loss account. The trader prepares the trading account and the profit and loss account. Whereas the service provider will generally prepare only the profit and loss account. These were the points that we had talked about. Everyone, whether it is a manufacturer, a trader, or a service provider, they all are going to prepare the balance sheet because the balance sheet provides the position of the business. The balance sheet provides the information related to the assets and liabilities of the business. And that's why everyone, whether it is a trader, manufacturer, or service provider, they all will be preparing the balance sheet. So that was from the perspective of the formats that we had talked about. Now, what is represented in what format, how it is represented, that all we'll be talking about. But before that, as I said yesterday, we have to talk about certain basic concepts of accounting because these concepts do affect the preparation and presentation of the financial statements. How do we prepare, on what basis we prepare these profit and loss account, this trading account, this income statement, this balance sheet, that all get affected by these concepts. I presented before you that there are four major concepts which are applicable. There are other concepts of accounting also, but those accounting concepts have the impact on recording of transactions or recording of different activities in the books of accounts. But these concepts, what we are talking about now, have the direct impact on the preparation of your final accounts. And for that purpose, we need to highlight, we need to talk about these different concepts in the form of accounting, for the purpose of preparing the final accounts. The very first in that I talked about was the concept of matching principle. Now, what is this matching principle? The matching principle says that if you have bought a garment of red color, you need to have a contrasting or matching garment to it. ताकि आपने शर्ट अगर लाल कलर का लिया है तो आपने पैंट ब्लैक कलर का लेना चाहिए, शर्ट अगर ब्लू कलर का लिया है तो पैंट आपने उसको मैचिंग करके लेना चाहिए. Something like that is the matching concept, isn't it? Well, nothing of that kind at all. मैंने कहा सुबह सुबह सोए होंगे तो थोड़ा सा जगा देता हूँ, क्योंकि मैं ऐसा तो नहीं बोल सकता हूँ ना कि चैन से सोना है तो जाग जाइए, isn't it? So anyways, sarcasm apart, let's talk about the matching principle. The matching principle basically says that you are expected to match the expenses for the period with the income of the same period. Means what? जो भी आपने इनकम्स एक्सपेंसेस ऐसे इनकम्स इस साल में रिकॉर्ड किया, अब ये साल कहां से आया? देयर इज अ कांसेप्ट कॉल्ड एज पीरियोडिसिटी, कि आपका जो टोटल पीरियड है, टोटल स्पैन है बिजनेस का, उसको आपने स्मॉल पीरियड्स में डिवाइड करना चाहिए, एंड दैट स्मॉल पीरियड इज बीन कंसीडर्ड यूजिंग द पीरियोडिसिटी कंसेप्ट. I'll just present the background first and then we'll go ahead. There is something called as going concern. ये मैंने पहले हर बैच में कहीं ना कहीं रेफरेंस में डिस्कस किया हुआ है. So I'm just presenting it for the sake of understanding in here. The going concern concept. Now, what is this going concern concept? The going concern concept. The going concern concept basically says that when a business starts, that business is expected to be a very continuing long-term undertaking. That is, once a business starts, it is expected to continue for a very long, for an unspecified, for an uncertain period of time. Foreign मतलब विदेश जाना पड़ेगा नहीं, for space n. Uncertain or unspecified period of time. That's what basically the going concern is. So every organization is presumed to be a going concern, और अगर हर organization going concern करके आप presume करोगे तो आपके transactions जो business के होने वाले हैं उनको तो आप continuously सिर्फ record करते जाओगे. You will never be able to do the analysis of your business. You will never be able to confirm the performance of your business. Like, if I have started the business at this point, and if this business is a going concern, that means it will continue for an infinite period of time. How much period, we don't know. So we keep on entering the transactions, we keep on recording the transactions, isn't it? And we will not be able to do the analysis. For that purpose came the periodicity concept. This periodicity concept says what? That whatever is your going concern period, that going concern period should be divided into the small periods at regular interval. So we divided this particular going concern into the small periods of 1 year each. In India, we start it from 1st of April and end on 31st March of the subsequent year. We call that as a financial year. Now, why it is covering the total period of 12 months? The very basic reason behind that is the 12 months will show all the ups and downs for the year. And for that purpose, it is generally covered, or it is generally including the 12 months period. Am I right? Now, one more implication of going concern. One implication is what? Once a business starts, it will continue forever. One more implication of going concern concept is that once you are starting the business for the longer term, you should divide. You should make the bifurcation between the expenses and incomes for the long-term purpose and for the short-term purpose. And that's why we made the distinction between capital and revenue. We make the distinction between fixed and current, capital and revenue, income and expense, fixed and current assets. These distinctions is what we do as per the going concern concept. All right, that's how we carry out the activity. तो जब हम असेट खरीदते हैं तो उसको अलग ट्रीटमेंट देते हैं, जब हम लोग कोई खर्च कर रहे हैं तो उसको अलग ट्रीटमेंट देते हैं. दिस इज बिकॉज ऑफ द गोइंग कंसर्न कंसेप्ट. अगर मैं लैंड एंड बिल्डिंग खरीद रहा हूं तो उसको अलग से रिप्रेजेंट करता हूं. वहीं अगर मैं कोई सपोज स्टॉक खरीद रहा हूं तो उसको मैं अलग से ट्रीटमेंट देता हूं. दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द गोइंग कंसर्न कंसेप्ट. Whereas the going concern concept doesn't talk about anything else. On a further note, the periodicity concept says कि आप अपने going concern period को थोड़े थोड़े छोटे पार्ट में डिवाइड करो. क्योंकि अगर आप कंटिन्यूअसली ट्रांजैक्शंस को सिर्फ रिकॉर्ड करते रहोगे तो हाउ विल यू बी एबल टू फाइंड आउट कि आप अपने बिजनेस में अच्छा कर रहे हो, बुरा कर रहे हो? आप कंपैरिजन कैसे करोगे अपने आप के साथ? For that purpose, this going concern period should be divided into that short period. Now this chota period can be of any term. It can be 3 months, it can be 6 months, it can be 12 months. But 3 months is too short a duration, and more than a year is too long a duration is what was understood, because we have already been following the concept of calendar year. We've already been following the concept of the financial year, and therefore that chota period was considered as to be the period of 12 months that was starting from 1st of April and ending on 31st March. Now comes the matching concept. What does this matching concept says? Now, but before I give you the note on matching concept, you should write the note on the first two. The going concern short में note लिखवा रहा हूँ because मैंने already April बैच में पूरा डिटेल में ले लिया है, मई बैच में वापस डिटेल में आने वाला है. So for that purpose, short में हम लोग notes लिखेंगे यहाँ पे. Write down first going concern concept. तुम लोग लिख रहे हो ना? Just raise hands for me. हाँ. ओके, अप्रैल बैच वालों के पास ऑलरेडी लिखा हुआ है. वो अगर नहीं भी लिखे तो भी चलेगा, उनके पास तो डिटेल में लिखा हुआ है. ओके, राइट डाउन. नहीं तो मैं मेरी एनर्जी क्यों बर्बाद करूं ना ऐसे बोल बोल के, इसलिए पूछ लिया. समझते हो? समझो. ओके, लिखो गोइंग कंसर्न कंसेप्ट. दिस इज वन ऑफ द फंडामेंटल अकाउंटिंग assumption This is one of the fundamental accounting assumption that requires that one should assume that once a business starts, it is expected to continue for a very long and uncertain period of time. For a very long and uncertain period of time, comma, unless otherwise provided. Next point. The implication of above concept is we distinguish between the capital and revenue items, and also the fixed and current asset. Fixed and current assets. Next point, periodicity concept. For analyzing the results of the business, one should divide the going concern period into the small spans at regular interval. Into the small spans at regular interval. The comparison of financial results, next point I'm talking about, the comparison of financial results becomes easier from one year to another. From one year to another. Next point. In India, we follow the period of 12 months. In India, we follow the period of 12 months starting from 1st April and ending on 31st March of subsequent year. And ending on 31st March of subsequent year. Is it not right? Now, let's talk about the matching concept. The matching concept basically says match the expense for a period with the income of same period. Now, what is this? Understand and observe. Observe it very carefully because this is the core of your preparation of final accounts. इसका सिंपल मतलब ये है कि आप अपने इनकम स्टेटमेंट में, मतलब ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट में, प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट में जो भी इनकम क्रेडिट करने वाले हो, उस इनकम को कमाने के लिए, जो भी इनकम आप क्रेडिट करने वाले हो, उस इनकम को कमाने के लिए जो कुछ भी आपने खर्च किया होगा, that all expense should be recorded in the same period. मतलब क्या? There are certain situations where you have incurred the expense, but the benefit of that you have not derived in the current period, that is not related to the income of current period, that is related to the income of next period. There can be a situation where you have got the benefit, you have received the benefit from a person, from an individual, but you have not made the payment to them. But that is related to the income that you have generated during the current year. So if that's the case, how to deal with such situations? That's what is talked about in the matching concept. If I have incurred an expense, what do you mean by incurred an expense? Incurred an expense means I have got the benefit of a particular thing. My employee has worked for me. My supplier has supplied the goods. I have incurred the expense. Benefits received. All right. Now, if paid already, not yet paid. All right. If paid already, in that case, if it is related to current year, treat it as expense. Treat as expense. Related to next year, treat as asset. आपने खर्च किया, आपने इनकर किया एक्सपेंस, अगर आपने वो एक्सपेंस ऑलरेडी पे कर दिया है और अगर वो इस साल से रिलेटेड है तो इस साल के लिए वो खर्च हो जाएगा. अगर वो इस साल से रिलेटेड नहीं है तो दैट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज एन एसेट, व्हाट वी कॉल एज अ prepaid expense. Am I right? Whereas if you have not yet paid it, again, if it is related to current year, treat it as a liability, as expense of current year and liability. Am I right? But if it is related to next year, then ignore it. Why ignore it? खर्च हमने इनकर किया. सपोज हमारा बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा है, बंदा बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्ट करके गया, बट जब तक वो बिल्डिंग का एक पर्टिकुलर पार्ट कंप्लीट नहीं करता है तब तक हमारा कोई लायबिलिटी उसके अगेंस्ट बनता नहीं है. कुछ पार्ट का एक्सपेंस इनकर हो चुका है पर अब तक की हमारी लायबिलिटी नहीं है. एंड एनीवेज दैट इज गोइंग टू अराइज इन द नेक्स्ट ईयर. तो इस साल में हम उसको रिकॉर्ड करके क्या करेंगे? ना ही वो हमारे लिए बिल्डिंग गिना जाएगा, ना ही वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस गिना जाएगा, ना ही अमाउंट पेएबल गिना जाएगा. देयरफॉर वी विल कंप्लीटली इग्नोर इट. जब तक बिल नहीं आता तब तक नहीं देखेंगे. राइट? And this is what we call as the outstanding expenses. That's the basic part. आगे मैचिंग प्रिंसिपल क्या बोलता है? मैच द एक्सपेंस विद द इनकम। यहां आपका ये अगर इनकम स्टेटमेंट है, सर आप स्टेटमेंट बोल रहे हो और अकाउंट बना रहे हो, फॉर ऑल प्रैक्टिकल पर्पस स्टेटमेंट इंक्लूड्स द अकाउंट बट अकाउंट डज नॉट इंक्लूड द स्टेटमेंट, राइट? सो when I'm preparing my income statement, whatever is the income I have credited to this, for earning this income, all the expenses should be recognized. So if there is an expense which is incurred but not yet paid and related to the current year income, add it. Incurred but not yet paid, therefore add it, which is related to current year's income. Similarly, if you have incurred and paid certain amount, but it is not related to current year, then subtract it. Therefore, we subtract the prepaid. So all the amounts which are related to the current year income, all the expenses which are incurred for the current year income should be recognized in the current year itself. One more point that I will be presenting in front of you. Suppose in this I have recognized certain sales. Of course, these goods must have been sold only out of the goods purchased or not. But it is not necessary that all the goods purchased are being sold. जितने भी goods आपके अभी भी unsold हैं cannot be treated as expense of current year. And therefore, we treat those particular stock as our asset and reduce from the current year expense. Current year purchase expense में से minus करने के लिए I reduce unsold stock, or I treat this as the closing stock, right? And the net purchases will come in your trading account, in your income statement, whatever is the net purchase. By this way, my sales is adjusted with my expense or not. So my matching principle is followed. However, the closing stock, क्योंकि जो मैंने इस साल में गुड्स खरीदे थे और अभी तक के अनसोल्ड हैं, तो वो मेरा इस साल का एक्सपेंस नहीं है, बट अगले साल के लिए तो एक्सपेंस हो जाएगा नहीं. That means the closing stock of 1 year becomes the opening stock of next year. And accordingly, what we do is, instead of showing it into the trading account debit side as subtracted from purchases, we show that into the trading account, that is the income statement, onto the credit side. Ultimate effect तो सेम हो गया. क्यों? जो मैंने गुड्स खरीदे और बेच दिए वो तो मेरे लिए इस साल का एक्सपेंस है, और जो गुड्स मैंने खरीदे पर अब तक बेचे नहीं हैं, that cannot be treated as expense of current year. So either you reduce it from the purchase value onto the debit side, or you show it into the trading account onto the credit side. The ultimate effect will remain same. मैं हमेशा कहता हूं, खाना हाथ से खाओ या काटे चम्मच से, खाना पेट में जाना चाहिए, बात खत्म. Did you understand this point? मुझे लगता है कि ये आपने लिख लेना चाहिए, and then I should go ahead. Just finish this. Just raise hands for me. I hope you have been understanding the things well. आप शायद कहीं कहीं आप एनपीओ को भी लिंक करना चालू कर दोगे. Just raise hands for me. Okay. Yeah, you can lower your hands. थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस पड़ जाता है, हम लोग जो नॉर्मल लेक्चर्स में डिस्कशन करते हैं और जो डिस्कशंस यहाँ करते हैं उसमें, जो बेचारे कॉमर्स वाले हैं पहले से उनको ऐसा लगता होगा कि ये बंदा बड़ा स्लो सिखाता है। Last year's outstanding, Mr. Dheeraj Shinde, is also not the expense of current year. When that is paid, it is automatically adjusted through the payment. आज सुबह सब डर गए थे क्या लेक्चर है या नहीं। बाकी के लेक्चर्स नहीं है। आज 1 से 2 के बीच में हम लोग मिलने वाले हैं, जो लोग भी आ रहे हैं उनसे। या एट ए confirm. हाँ नवीर जी। Done? Yep. The next concept that we need to talk about now is the accrual concept. Now, what is this accrual concept? Let's talk about that. The accrual concept basically says that whatever accrues, whatever is the case for which the firm has received the benefit or provided the benefit, should be brought into the books of accounts. Accrual concept simply says that whatever is the transaction against which you have the right to receive or the obligation to pay should be brought into the books of accounts. Whether that right to receive is getting converted into right to recover or not, that's not a question. Understand carefully. Suppose I sold goods on 1st Jan 2020. The credit period is, say, 4 months. That means the amount will become due. The amount receivable will become due on which date? Due on February, March, April, May. 1st May 2020. ये कोई bill of exchange नहीं है जिसमें तुम 3 grace days add करोगे. Right? So forget about that. 1st May 2020 is the due date of this. Here you have the right to recover. But here you have the right to receive. Why on 1st of January you have the right to receive is because you have sold the goods. That means the property is getting transferred. Property in the goods is transferred on 1st of January 2020 itself or not? As the property in goods is already transferred on 1st of January 2020, that means the benefits are already been given. The moment you provide the benefit, you automatically have the right to receive the income against that, even though you have given the credit period, and because of that, the right to recover will arise at a later date, but that will be recognized as income. Recognized as income when you transfer the property. And this is the only concept because of which the credit transactions are recorded into the books. Transactions are recorded the credit transactions are recorded as per the accrual concept. The same ways in the reverse situation can arise for the goods purchased as well. जो गुड्स तुमने 1 जनवरी 2020 को परचेज किए उसी दिन तुम्हारी लायबिलिटी क्रिएट हो गई. क्यों उसी दिन तुम्हारी लायबिलिटी क्रिएट हुई? क्योंकि तुमको गुड्स मिल गए तो you have the obligation to pay against that or not. So that's why I said accrual concept says what? Transactions should be recorded. Transactions should be recorded considering the right to receive and कैसे लिखते हैं and obligation to pay. Without considering actual receipt or payment. Am I right? So recognition of credit transaction, recognition of credit transactions is done as per accrual concept. As per accrual concept. इसीलिए तुम्हारे पास डेटर्स, क्रेडिटर्स, आउटस्टैंडिंग एक्सपेंसेस, इनकम्स रिसीवेबल, ये सारे आते हैं just because of what? Because of the accrual concept. Am I right? Yes, completed. Tomorrow's lecture also will be 7 to 8. Because I think your next lecture is at 8 o'clock only, right? Yes. I'll try if I can finish majority of the part on Sunday itself, up to Sunday itself. Is it done? So that's it for the day. The conservatism and materiality concept is what we're going to talk tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll also be talking about the sources of preparing the final accounts. And then we have to start talking about how do we prepare these final accounts. So that's it for the day. We'll meet tomorrow at 7 a.m. Thank you.